A manager cannot be explicit or clear enough regarding guidelines. One of the ways that you can provide clarity is by spelling out the way that your staff need to work together and interact with colleagues, clients, and stakeholders. A simple way to think about this task is to ask what specific behaviors will enable us to succeed. In this episode, we'll discuss what a set of ground rules might look like, how to put one together if you haven't, and how to ensure that every member of your team is aware of them. Hi, I'm Rick Kendall.
And I'm Fred Ball.
Welcome to Management Mastery. The purpose of these podcasts is to share what each of us has learned about good and bad management in our combined over 40 years of experience, both as managers and executive coaches. During that time, we've coached managers at every level in companies from Fortune 100s to brand new startups in all major businesses, including nonprofits, government, and education. So whether you're just starting in your first management position or are an experienced manager looking to strengthen your management skills, we know our podcast will be valuable to you.
Every department has guidelines, but they're often informal and learned over time by watching and observing others. That causes differentiated learning, and some people might not understand the ground rules at all, nor are they necessarily spelled out clearly to newcomers to the department. Nevertheless, it's important that every member of a department understand and abide by the ground rules for that department.
So what do we mean by ground rules? Well, we're talking about those guiding rules or principles by which a department operates. They can be greatly influenced by the manager's personal management style. For example, for some managers, a deadline is absolute. The assignment is either on time or it's not completed at all. For other managers, a deadline may seem more like a suggestion. In any case, every manager has rules they expect staff to follow, even though they're seldom written down or even enunciated to staff. Often they're only communicated incidentally when one's violated. For example, when an assignment is overdue or someone comes in late to a meeting.
Even when you're pretty sure that some people in your department don't understand all the guidelines, some managers hesitate to write ground rules, saying, might people know the ways we work together and what behaviors are important? Because they think that their staff will react poorly to writing down what they think they already know. This is not true, but some managers, hesitate on this. So we're going to give you a way around that issue. One way to introduce ground rules into your department is by asking for help. You might send an email to staff saying, at our next meeting, I'd like to talk about and create a list of the department's ground rules, expectations, and behaviors that we can use for interns and new hires. Anytime we make a new hire, I get asked, as you probably do, what's expected of them, and I want us to make a list of the rules so that we're all consistent about what we say. Please think of some of the attributes and behaviors we should share with new people who join our team. This will be helpful for all of us since you may be asked to manage an intern or be a mentor to a new hire. A few of the examples that we might talk about are be able to state the department's primary objective, purpose, and function in the larger organization. Second, remember the client comes first. Always. Third, we treat each other with respect and respect each other as teammates. Fourth, manage your commitments so you don't overpromise and underdeliver. The examples should be the non-negotiable rules that you want in the final listing and should include both how we need to work together and what behaviors are expected when dealing with clients, teammates, and stakeholders. And I just want to say that that you may have some hesitancy as the manager, but trust us, in the coaching that we have done, these things work.
Yeah, so at this meeting, you want to begin with a discussion of possible ground rules. Now, the staff may be hesitant at first, but managers, as Fred just said, that we've coached and who do this, tell us that once the discussion starts, the staff become involved. I think there's probably a reluctant, oh, well, we don't need to talk about rules. And as you put possible statements up, someone will want to change it a little bit or in a slight way. So you start to clarify what the rules are. And this is extremely positive. It'll get staff involved and it'll create better statements of policy. Now, it may take more than one meeting, and you should give staff time to think and react to creating final statements. And managers have found that this exercise is helpful across the board in any type of function or organization. So it never hurts to clarify kind of the unwritten principles, and now they're written, of how you in your department do business.
Absolutely. You can immediately see that this activity will have more than one benefit. Yes, it will be valuable to new staff members, interns, or hires, but will also be valuable to all staff members who learned the ground rules in informal ways. It will now get everyone on the same page as to how you want your department to operate. Furthermore, if a staff member breaks one of the ground rules, it will help you set the person straight. So, for example, suppose that a staff member treats another staff member in the department poorly, and you have to bring them in. The first thing that can happen is it can appear to be you on one side and the staff member who you may have to discipline on the other side, and you want to change that. You want to say to them, do you remember that we set ground rules that included treating each other well, and you have broken one of the rules? It's much harder for the person who you may have to discipline to argue with that, because in fact they were in the room and helped to create the list to say that we're going to treat each other well. So you can come back and say, this is an issue where you broke a rule and you need to change your behavior.
And in addition to the ground rules, you may want to have a brief statement of your department function or purpose at the top of the ground rules statement. It should be short and tight, but cover the primary objective or function of the department. I never cease to be amazed at how many times people have such a narrow view of their job they don't know what the larger department really is about. So this can be, it sounds silly, but it can be very important. It gives you gives every employee an understanding, a commonly shared understanding of what their ultimate objective is as a department. So an example might be, we're a proactive marketing department that builds strong, lasting relationships with our clients by providing outstanding, on-time delivery on products and services.
Let's take a look at a couple of examples of possible ideas that you might want to include in that brief statement of department function. The one that we talked about was the department's primary objective, purpose, or function in the larger organization. The need to have a deep understanding of the fundamentals of the business. That if people don't understand something, they're encouraged to ask, and there's no penalty for asking, but there may be one for not knowing later.
It also would include that you have a focus on increasing efficiency and effectiveness, including being open to and encouraging new ideas, and that your department strives to develop a deeper integration of your group across the division and within the business.
So if those are examples of possible things you want to include in your statement of department purpose, let's look at some examples of possible ground rules that you may want in your final statement. One would be making an effort to connect with colleagues inside and outside our industry. For example, others in marketing or in finance. Networking with other professionals to build relationships and understand their approach to business. This is something the manager can actively encourage by doing things like sponsoring mixers where each staff member is required to bring someone from another department or even from outside the company.
Well, yeah, and networking with other professionals in order to build relationships and understand their approach to business, this is something the manager can actually actively encourage by doing things like sponsoring mixers, where each staff member is required to bring someone from another department or even from outside the company. And another might be managing commitments so that one does not overpromise and underdeliver. If you promise something and timing changes, then you let people know quickly. And also, you want to speak up if you're not happy about something in the department. Managers don't know what you're thinking unless you tell them. But if you're not happy with something, you should be also prepared to offer a possible solution to the problem. And remember, we're a team with interrelated work, so we must be good collaborators and open to communicating with and assisting teammates. We all own each other's successes and failures at the end of the day.
We're continuing with possible ground rules that you may want to include. Another is always check your work. It's better to work 10% slower if that means spending time to check your work rather than being fast and wrong. Or take ownership. Your job or assignment is your responsibility, but don't be a hero. Ask for help if you need it. If the client doesn't understand something, it's your fault. You haven't explained it clearly enough. Or consult your boss on issues that fall outside the normal workflow. If you don't know, don't try to fake it.
Yeah, and we've got some very basic principles too in our ground rules, and that one of them is come to meetings on time and be prepared. And then leave meetings with specific measurable goals with set timelines, and then prepare specific follow-up for subsequent meetings. So you're always trying to be, one step ahead of where things are. And, you want to practice basic communication courtesy. Answer in a timely fashion if an answer is required. And if an email is forwarded to you, then CC the originator with any response you make, so they're always included in the conversation. And then listen actively, and we've talked about active listening in several of our previous episodes, and debate vigorously, but always communicate with a win-win partnership manner.
Then it's also important to review when new people join the department any corporate policies relevant to your department. Things like what is proprietary information and how it must be handled, the use of personal emails in the office, or sending such emails on the company account. What are appropriate and inappropriate behaviors when on company business, and so on. Again, it's important that the manager ensures that all staff are familiar with these ground rules by reviewing them as needed. One thing that I would add about that is even if you say that your department has ground rules that were already established, the question that Rick and I would ask is, when was the last time that you reviewed them or removed any inappropriate one and added any appropriate ones to the list? And that should be done at least once a year.
Right, and obviously, as we said at the beginning, you want to do it every time someone new joins the department. So, everybody's on the same page.
Right.
So the purpose of this podcast has been to show the value of clear, concise communication of your expectations as a manager for staff behaving in a manner that allows you and your team to succeed. If staff members feel valued and respected, they'll be engaged and work to their best abilities. And we suggest that if you've established ground rules, that you look at them and see if any updating is required, and if you don't have an established set of ground rules, that you take the time with your staff to develop them and, as a group, review them whenever someone new joins the team. We hope you have found this podcast useful and will come back again for more management mastery. If you have any comments about this or any of our episodes, or would like to find out more about our other services, including one-on-one coaching and group seminars for managers, visit our website at careercoachclass.com. Thanks for listening.